Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking, right here on WrestleNet Radio. That is right. I am your host, Archie Mitchell, and this is week one of If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking. And what this basically is a little look back at what the week has had for both NXT and AEW, as well as a little rant at the ending. Maybe not pertaining to this week's shows, but in wrestling in general. Um, as you guys know, I joined Nate and Aaron, David, Kyle Army, and the rest of us on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And this is my first week doing my first solo show here on the WrestleNet radio. And guys, I have to say, big ups to Nate Maxon for putting this all together. It has been amazing to see it get put into light. When Nate first told me about it, I knew he could do it, but I was just waiting to see how it was all going to be, divvied out, who was going to be doing what. And you never know. I may end up doing another show with Aaron Maxon or with Nate or with David. You never know who's going to pop in where. It's just a matter of time. We're all getting our feet wet and learning the ropes. So, as I said, this is a review of what happened on NXT and AEW this past Tuesday and Wednesday night. And I want you guys to know this is not a head-to-head battle anymore. Um, AEW is on Wednesday still. NXT moved to Tuesday nights. And basically, I'm happy that that happened. I have to say, the Wednesday Night War was a little bit of a bust. If you look at the ratings, neither show cracked 1 million viewers more than once. And when they were going head to head, it really made it hard for us fans. It's not like it was when the Monday Night Wars were going on in the 90s, where you had an opportunity to pick and choose and really, you had to video one and watch the other live or, flip back and forth. It really came down to which was your favorite that week. Where with DVR and fast forwarding, you really missed a lot. I'm going to be honest. There were weeks when the Wednesday Night War was going on. I would really fast forward through a lot of what was going on both shows. So it's just the way it is. So as you heard me do, you do the same. Pop open your favorite cold beverage, and let's talk here. Starting off with NXT on Tuesday night. Incredible opening video package. No one does hype videos better than WWE. That is just my opinion, but it's been said for years and years and years. Showing us what's going down the last couple weeks, what we can expect this evening, and then we immediately get thrusted into a Falls Count Anywhere street fight between Leon Ruff and Isaiah Swerve Scott. These two have been feuding for over a month. And what it ultimately comes down to is both are incredible young athletes. Both want to be at the pinnacle and at the top to maybe challenge Johnny Gargano for the North American title or get a shot at Kushida in the Cruiserweight Championship. But they got to go through one another. The ending was a little wonky. Isaiah Swerve Scott's friends getting involved from the crowd was a little wonky. It was a little unexpected. Maybe that was needed, though. But it was a hard hitting match. Both guys did great, in my opinion. Scott gets the win, and he is either moving on from this feud, hopefully, so that both can be broken up and do, something else down the line. But if not, I hope there's at least good things more to come from both Isaiah Swerve Scott and Leon Ruff. Backstage gold with Gargano, Theory, Scarlett, and Regal. Johnny Gargano has become quite a bit annoying, but it's working for him. Austin Theory is really learning from him and starting to become the comedic member of the two. Scarlett Bordeaux is amazing. William Regal is the best straight man in the business, in my opinion. So a great backstage promo there. We then go to Cameron Grimes taking on Hale. I didn't get this gentleman's first name. I tried to rewind back and forth a couple of times to catch it. I just really couldn't, though. I think it was the ring announcer's fault, though. Cameron Grimes actually surprised me here. He sold for Hale, which I thought this was going to be a squash match, but it wasn't. Hale got in some great offense, and it allowed that when Grimes finally got the win, it was hard fought. and it was good. And maybe this was needed. Cameron Grimes is a great athlete, but he's not the biggest guy in the roster. So maybe him having to sell for some of the smaller guys in his range, isn't a bad thing. Um, Excellent match in my opinion, though. Um, Grimes gets the win. He continues his Bitcoin millionaire routine, and I'm wondering that if there is ever going to be a point where the bottom drops out on Cameron Grimes and he loses his fortune and he goes back to being that real somber, real poor little guy in the black leather hat and whatnot, or if they're going to keep going on with it. But whatever the case is, it's great. Um, and I typed this into my notes, and I'm going to read it out loud because I have to. Oh, great. Kaden and Casey are back. These two women are a walking botch fest. They are not good for the women's division in NXT, in my opinion. They do some decent spots here and there, but they are not good in the ring, in my opinion. Needs some more seasoning. And in my opinion, this whole promo in the backstage area gets saved by Frankie Monet, the former Taya Valkyrie, who is brilliant in her role. She speaks great. She has this shit-eating grin, and it's amazing. Kudos to Frankie Monet for saving this moment. We then get a funny backstage segment with Cameron Grimes and Everrise, and they think they're going to the club with him, and he's like, "Yeah, three people are going to the club: me, myself, and Cameron Grimes." And he just walks away, leaving them there, holding their coffee cups. It was comedy gold, in my opinion. They're doing great things in the backstage area tonight, as far as NXT goes. We get the grizzled young veterans who cut a good quick promo about the match they've got coming up with Tommaso Ciampa and Thatcher. Um, Match starts, and then it's an incredible back and forth 15-minute masterpiece between four technically sound wrestlers. It got a little brutal here and there with some stiff chops, but it's what it's supposed to be. When you've got four guys who know how to strike and get on the ground and actually fight. Um, Thatcher and Ciampa get the win with a little bit of underhandedness with using the shoe on Gibson. A great match, though. NXT has been good so far, in my opinion. And then we get more backstage antics with Gargano, and he's once again being annoying as fuck. But it's what's paying off for him. And he's trying to make Regal believe that Bronson Reed doesn't deserve a shot at the North American title. Regal tells him, "Nope, you're going to be defending against Bronson Reed." And Austin Theory's got a match with Karrion Kross after he messed with Scarlett Bordeaux earlier tonight. So that left Johnny with his mouth hanging over. We then got a follow up from Isaiah Swerve Scott, who says he guaranteed victory, and he got it. Then he walked out with his three friends who look like created characters from WWE 2K. I'm not lying. If you haven't watched it yet, find it on YouTube or find NXT on Peacock, and they all look like NXT, like WWE 2K 20 created characters. It was just ridiculous. Then we get a quick look at these new women that are coming in to NXT. They both also had a match, and they have one tonight as well. Saraya and Zeta both look good in their debuts, and I can't wait to see what they've got popping up here tonight in a match. We then have Karrion Kross who comes out to cut a promo, and he's really putting himself over, which is what he should be doing. He's got that monstrous look in his eyes, that devil may care attitude, and then he is interrupted by Kyle O'Reilly, who is now acting like Orange Cassidy, but that's fine. Then Pete Dunne, and then Finn Balor. They get into a brawl, and then we got Johnny Gargano popping in to try to help Austin Theory next week by trying to take out Karrion Kross. They finally get Kross down. The thought in my mind right now is if all four of these guys go on to challenge Kross for the NXT title, whether they be singles matches or become a five-way, match, a five-way dance, a five-pack challenge, whatever you want to call it, this would be an incredible matchup because all five of these guys can go. Gargano is a former NXT champion. So is Balor. Dunn is a former NXT UK champion. Kyle O'Reilly is an amazing, unbelievable ground and pound specialist. Karrion Kross is Karrion Kross, who is man right now. So I say NXT, give us what we want, which is either Cross going through these 5 men and looking for his next challenger one by one, or give us a 5-way. Let's see what happens. Saraya and Zeta finally have their match. Good match between these two new up and comers. Um, Saraya gets the win because they are pushing her to be an incredible star. And in my opinion, I hate to sound like a wet blanket, but I am hoping that they do not go the same way that they did with Asuka and Io Shirai. What I mean by that is making her an unbeatable Japanese star would be a mistake. And why? Well, here's why. You never want to always be doing the same thing. It should not look like copy, paste, repeat. Copy, paste, repeat. You had Asuka in NXT, and for over a year, she was an unbeatable champion. Asuka left, and you replaced her with Io Shirai, who, for the most part, was unbeaten, but then she took a couple of bad losses, came back stronger than ever, and then became an unbeaten champion for over a year. So what I'm saying is I hope that Saraya does not become that same unbeatable Japanese monster again. I think they need to do something different, make her an underdog here and there, let her really push herself. She doesn't need to turn heel. She doesn't need to become a spewer of mist or anything like Asuka did. She doesn't need to become a genius of the sky like Io Shirai did or Io Shirai did. She just needs to be herself and just go through the match. And that's just my opinion, though. Walter has a FaceTime with Imperium, and I find this hilarious. The general of the ring is on FaceTime with his three comrades, and he just I don't know, he looks uncomfortable sitting in that small little iPad. But um, Wolf walks off, and then this gets followed by Tony Storm murdering Zeta, young lady who just lost to Saraya, and Zoe Stark comes in to break it up. I'm liking what they're doing with Tony Storm, but I just think that they are really pushing Zoe Stark way too quick, and I just don't like what they're going with here. She should have been used as an up and comer who won, lost, and then finally got into a feud. She's had 3 matches already with 3 high-profile opponents, and now she's in a feud with Tony Storm. So we then go to Jake Atlas versus LA Knight in a 3-minute squash match, and I don't like this. I don't like what they've done with the former Eli Drake. I hate his name. LA Knight is like worst wrestling name I think you can give any wrestler. And I'm kind of waiting to see if LA Gear, the former sneaker company from the early '90s, decides to try to file a cease and desist because they had an LA Knight sneaker. Um, but in any case, I just think that he deserves better. He's a former Impact champion, former NWA Tag Team champion, and I think that Eli Drake only went back to the WWE because there was nowhere else for him to go. And it's going to be part of my rant at the end of the night. We'll talk about that in a minute. But just a basic squash match, 3 minutes long, and Knight gets the win. We then get Indy and Candice, and they're getting ready for their match in the back. And Dexter Loomis is really trying to get the attention of one Indy Hartwell. And Candice is doing her best to block Indy from seeing this. She closes the blind. It's hysterical. It's what needed to break up the monotony in the show at this point. Then we hear from Legado del Fantasma, and Escobar is great on the mic, incredible cruiserweight champion. They did as much as they possibly could with him as a cruiserweight champion. That ladder match that he had with Devlin was unbelievable. But I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with him now that he isn't the cruiserweight champion. And then we go to hear from Mercedes Martinez and Raquel Diaz. To be honest, I'm not looking forward to this feud. These are two women who have been built up to be these big, lumbering women who can't feel pain and can't take a beating, and now they're going to have a fight, which is kind of going to look like Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley did, or Rhea Ripley did at WrestleMania last year, where neither one of them wanted to give anything, and then there was just a winner, but only an off-brand version. I think that Raquel Diaz should have been made to face someone like an Ember Moon or even a Zoe Stark. If you want to let her just beat the crap out of Zoe Stark for a couple weeks in a row. Um, and then going on to a high-profile feud with either Io Shirai, who deserves a rematch, or one of the other baby faces. It just doesn't seem like Mercedes Martinez versus Raquel Diaz is going to be the moneymaker that they think it is. And then we get ready for our main event. And we've got Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart defending the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions against Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell. All four of these women did a tremendous job. I have never seen that many spots from women in a match, and that's not to put them down. There have been some incredible women's matches over the years since the Women's Revolution took place. And this was just an incredible match, spots from beginning to end. And then towards the middle, that spot where Shotzi came down off the ladder on top of Candice. And then we had Indy go over the top rope onto the table to take out Ember. Then we had Shotzi come off the rafters to take out Indy Hartwell through the announce table. It was just spot after spot, but it was paying off because it gave us a moment to then look back at what was going on with the other women, while the other two had a chance to recuperate. Great job by everyone involved. I wish that the titles would have stayed on Shotzi and Ember a little longer, because this is now the third set of champions we've had, and the title's only been around for like 6 weeks. But Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell deserve it. They're an established tag team, and I think they truly did a great job leading up to this match and then having this match. And if they do a rematch, I'm all for it. Um, NXT was up and up, from top to bottom, up and down, fantastic show. If you have not watched it and you listen to this, first of all, I'm sorry if I spoiled anything for you, but this is a review show. But if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. Even if this spoiled it for you, go back and watch what I talked about. You will see that this was a great show, top to bottom, and I give it a 4 out of 5 stars in my opinion. Why is it not 5 stars? Well, I would like to have heard from Adam Cole. I would like to see Karrion Kross in action, or a Kyle O'Reilly and a Finn Balor in a singles match. It it was just missing that one other big male bit of competition, in my opinion, singles match in that way. But the women did a great job, and they absolutely killed it. And I have to say, NXT now on Wednesday nights, I'm happy where they are, and they've been putting on an absolutely great job. I hope I said Tuesday nights. NXT on Tuesday nights is doing an absolutely great job. Now moving on to Wednesday nights with AEW. And in weeks past, when I've spoken about AEW on the We Can't Wrestle podcast, or when I was doing my Living in the War show, which talked about the Wednesday Night War between AEW and NXT, I was a bit critical of AEW. And I'm sorry that I am. I'm an AEW fan, guys. I watch it every week. I'm not crapping on the product just because. But there are times that this company does things that make me just pull my hair out. And I ain't got that much left. So I ain't looking to pull any more out. Fortunately, though, this was one of those nights. We start off with Don Callis bringing out Michael Nakazawa, and he's apparently going to take on Moxley and Kingston by himself instead of the tag team match that we heard it was going to be with Kenny Omega and Nakazawa, because Kenny isn't there, but then the announcers say that Kenny is there. It's just really bad the way that they pulled this off. And then here comes Kenny Omega to take out Moxley, so now it's time to beat up on Kingston. It gets really botchy. And for like 10 minutes, it's just a total and utter botch fest between all four guys. Omega looks like he's kind of just in neutral, and everybody else is going at 100 miles an hour. And, Moxley and Kingston obviously get the win over Nakazawa because Omega left the ring anyway. And then we get the very predictable Bullet Club beatdown. This has been happening every week that Moxley and Kingston are out at the ring. Here come the Good Brothers and the now re-attitudized Young Bucks. And it's just predictable, guys. It's just the way it is. They leave, of course, Moxley and Kingston laying, and then we go to commercial. We come back to QT Marshall about to go one-on-one Cody Rhodes. Decent back and forth match. Both guys showed a ton. But the opening ref spot where he pulled the weight belt away from Cody, Made no sense because he pulled the weight belt away from Cody, didn't allow Cody to use it because that would be illegal. QT Marshall pulls off his and hits Cody with it, and the ref just looks at him like, "What are you doing?" Pulls the belt away from him, throws it away. Shouldn't have that been an automatic disqualification if you didn't want to let Cody use it? Um, I'm psyched. Like I'm really psyched for where they were going with QT versus Cody. But then after the match, Cody's bleeding for no reason. I don't know. I didn't ever see him get hit in the top of the eye area. Um, and Cody's bleeding, and out comes Anthony Ogogo, and he just decks Cody with one shot, and Cody's down. So I guess this is our next feud. And I have to say, the microwave Cody feuds are getting a little ridiculous. He's now feuded with at least 30% of the roster, and I'd like them to slow down and let him have a 3 or 4 month feud with someone. But I guess that's not possible in AEW's eyes. We then hear from Ethan Page, a Scorpio Sky. Fantastic tag team they've become. These two know how to cut a promo. They are doing so on Sting and Darby Allin. This gets followed up by Darby Allin jumping on Ethan Page, who was talking about their past. I didn't know these two had a past, so this was nice to hear a little history lesson about the two of them. And then Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page proceed to throw Darby Allin down a flight of stairs. And I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because it just was like, wow, it went that hard that fast. That escalated rather quickly. But I'm really happy to see where this goes. If it gets Sting back in the ring with two young stars, it helps to make them. If it helps to push Darby Allin's career, I'm really psyched to see where it goes. We then, after another commercial break, come back to Britt Baker versus Julia Hart. She is not from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, according to Jim Ross, like all Harts are from. Britt Baker gets a very easy 3 minute squash match. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this was needed in this instance. Britt needs to be built up as a heel contender. She is the number one contender for Sheeta's World Women's Championship. And it's great to see that they have allowed her to climb the rankings the way that she's meant to and get her opportunity. So by her beating this young, no-name young lady, it's great. I think it was needed. A 3 minute squash match for Britt Baker is needed here. Not so much with LA Knight, like I said during NXT, because he's not leading to anything, but Britt Baker is, so more power to him. Another quick commercial break, and then we come back to the Varsity Club. The Varsity Blondes, taking on Jurassic Express, SCU, and the Acclaimed in a 4-way tag team matchup. The Varsity Blondes have become one of my favorite AEW secondary tag teams, and I say that because they're usually used on Dark or Elevation. So when they get shown on AEW Dynamite, I'm very happy to see them. Brian Pillman Jr. is unbelievable, and he is slowly showing the world that he is just like his dad in the ring. And I hope that he continues to do that and makes his father and his legacy. In my opinion, Brian Pillman, Jungle Boy, and the Acclaimed were the stars in this match. They took a lot of the bigger bumps, and the right team won. SCU got the win and will now challenge the Young Bucks for a shot at the at the AEW World Tag Team titles. So the Bucks and SCU for the tag gold. I'm happy for it. I'm happy to see both these teams once again in the ring with each other. They feuded in New Japan and in Ring of Honor. Bring it on. Nice promo package for Moxley versus Yuji Nagata for the New Japan United States Championship. Nagata was always one of my favorites in WCW when he came in, and I followed him in his New Japan career as well. So this is a match I'm looking forward to. Then we get Kenny Omega cutting a promo that made no sense. I don't think I remember 3 words that Kenny said except for blood and guts over and over again. The rest was just incoherent dribble. And I'm a Kenny Omega fan. I loved Kenny Omega in New Japan. I thought he was great when he came to Ring of Honor as well for those few one-off matches. I loved his feud with Adam Cole on being the Elite. But since he became world champion, they are not booking him correctly. And this promo with Orange Cassidy goes to show exactly how bad Kenny is on the mic. And then we get that followed up with a promo from Miro. And Tony Schiavone is making funny faces during it. I don't know why. I don't know if he even knows he's on camera. But it's the only good part about this promo. But apparently, Miro is going to be taking on Darby Allin for the TNT title next week. We've got a loaded match. We got a New Japan United States title match. We've got the title match. We've got a world title eliminator match between Pac and Orange Cassidy. Um, Loaded Dynamite next week, so I'll be looking forward to that. And then we come to the match that they hype all night long, Blood and Guts, which is the code name for the War Games, because as we know, Dusty Rhodes created War Games in WCW, NWA, Rocket Promotions, and Cody Rhodes wants to keep that match in his back pocket. Can't use the War Games name, so they call it Blood and Guts. And we've got the Pinnacle, MJF, FTR, Wardlow, and Sean Spears taking on the Inner Circle, Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Jake Hager, and Pride and Powerful, which is Ortiz and his tag team partner Santana. And I'll be honest, going into this match, I was like, yes, I love the War Games. I love what NXT has done with the War Games, so bring it on. I want to see AEW's version of War Games. And this was bad. It was a botch fest that the camera was getting too close on, that you saw it being a botch from beginning to end. You know, if you hold the camera back a little bit more than usual, and a kick is misplaced or a jump is ill-timed and a clothesline doesn't connect the right way, well, I didn't see it unless the camera was too close. Well, tonight the camera was too close, and we saw everything. There was definitely blood and guts, though. MJF was covered in a crimson mask. He made his way to the top of the cage. And then we began to see Chris Jericho talking to MJF. Camera was panned right in on Chris's lips, and you could basically see that Chris Jericho was telling MJF what to do in the match. And that's fine and well. I understand a well-established star telling the younger, up and comer like MJF what to do, but get the damn camera off his face, because you saw him saying, "Throw me off the camera, off the cage, throw me off the cage," and MJF's like, "Okay, Chris," and it's like, dude. So, and then match is over. The Inner Circle surrender. Fine, great. They surrendered so that MJF wouldn't throw Jericho off the cage. And then 4 minutes later, which was the drawn out, is he going to do it? Is he not going to do it? Jericho's telling him to do it. MJF saying, "Yeah, no problem, Chris." He pie faces Jericho, pushes him down, and Jericho takes a bump into cardboard, and it looks horrendous. You can see that what was supposed to be a metal grate underneath Jericho is nothing but pieces of cardboard with AEW painted on them. And it's meant to look like metal, but when they pop up and you see the brown part on the bottom, yeah, not a great idea, guys. Again, you let your camera get way too close and you basically show the magic trick to the world, and it was bad. In my opinion, this is just one step below the sparkler mania that we got from Kenny Omega and John Moxley. Supposed to be an exploding ring death match. Yeah, this was just as bad. I mean, I don't get it. I don't know why AEW makes these big crazy promises and then they book it for 4 weeks. And then when the time comes to finally get to the end game, they cannot finish off properly. But it's fine. We'll see what next week brings. But in my humble opinion, NXT will get a 2.5 out of 5 stars out of me this week, week because it was lacking. There were great spots that really did it. I really did enjoy the four-way tag match, the Moxley and Nagata promo, Britt Baker's match, and the way that she's being built. There were great moments in this show, but there were a lot of botches and a lot of ill-timed camera shots that killed this show product. That was right. So I'm not saying NXT wins. No, they're on two different nights, so it doesn't matter who wins or loses. But AEW needs to step up their game and start showing us that when they promote Exploding Deathmatch, a blood and guts cage match, or any type of crazy I want to be hardcore match, that they can execute it properly. That's just my opinion. And I want to thank you guys for joining me again on the first edition of If You Smell What the Arch is Cooking, um, and allowing me to sit here and talk about both shows. Now, now I may be about to do my best Jim Cornette impression because wrestling as a whole is not what it used to be. And we're going to call this what grinds my gears. I'm stealing that from Family Guy. And what grinds my gears is wrestlers who leave a company and bitch and moan after they left said company, only to return to that company 6 months, a year, 5 years later. Case in point, Booker T, when he left WWE the first time, Booker went to TNA and he did shoot interviews about the WWE and said, they're racist. They didn't book me properly. They didn't know how to book me because I'm a black man. Vince McMahon said the N word, and everyone made me feel like a second class citizen. And it was just a bad company all around. And then Booker T returned to the WWE. And now, when he does an interview or his podcast, says things like WWE is a great place. WWE is a family. The WWE loves their wrestlers. WWE is not racist. Look, all their champions are in the minority or are black. And yes, he's right. Bobby Lashley is a great world heavyweight champion. Doesn't matter the tone of his skin. It doesn't matter the tone of your skin in wrestling, in my opinion. If you're a great athlete, if you're a great wrestler, you're going to get a push and you're going to be on the show. Another great case is LA Knight, Eli Drake. He was in NXT before it was NXT, and he was let go. And then he went to TNA, and he was with Drew McIntyre and Tamaloa from the Gorillas of Destiny in New Japan Pro Wrestling, who is Haku's son. They were a team, and then they broke off, and he became Eli Drake by himself. And he was great in TNA. And every time he cut a promo or did a shoot interview, he said, the WWE are nothing but a bunch of jackasses. They didn't know how to book me. They didn't know what they were doing with me. They kept trying to push me further down the card. And Triple H is this, and this guy's that, and Vince is this. And he's a crotchety old man. And then, where is he now? NXT, in the WWE. Austin Aries went to TNA, left because he had creative differences. Went to the WWE, left because he had creative differences. Went back to TNA. They made him the world heavyweight champion again. And then he left again because he had creative differences. Look at Mickie James and what she's been doing in the news lately and talking about how the WWE sent her belongings in a trash can, and then it cost Mark Carrano his job because he was the one doing it, and no one in the WWE knew about it. And Mickey's just been saying that their ageism against me. They made me feel like I was old, and they made me feel like I didn't belong this time. I felt like I was complacent and couldn't move up the ladder. I wanted to have a woman's only brand, and they told me women's wrestling doesn't make money. Mickey, the last time you left WWE, they had you calling yourself. They had Michelle McCool and Layla L calling you Piggy James, and were telling you you were fat. They were also telling you that you weren't going to be the women's champion again, and they forced you out of the company. And again, I'm not picking on Mickie James. She is a great wrestler. She is one of the trailblazers in the women's division, and she deserves everything that she's ever had for success. But Mickie, you should have never have gone back to the WWE because they were only looking for someone who was going to put over the younger stars, and you did that. You helped put over Alexa Bliss, you helped put over Asuka, you helped put over Bayley, you helped have a feud with Natty. You were great. But if you thought they were going to listen to you or do something differently that they didn't do before, I'm sorry, you're wrong. If a wrestler leaves their company because of sour grapes and because they're not being booked correctly and they are claiming racism, ageism, fascism, or any ism, there is no reason to go back 5 years later because Vince McMahon is still in charge. Triple H is still the CEO, the CFO. Stephanie is still the COO. And except for Mark Carano, everyone is still employed that was employed when you got there and left the first time. So if you're not happy with the company that you work for, leave. It happens in the real world too. I'm not happy working at Goldman Sachs, so I'm going to leave and go on to another money company. I'm not happy working at Target or Walmart or any other big box company. So I'm going to leave and go work somewhere else. I am self employed myself. And it's because I tried to work for other people and I just never wanted to have a manager in my face yelling at me if they just felt like doing so. I can't handle it. I don't want to be micromanaged. I don't want to be managed. I don't want to be told what to do. So, in that regard, I made my own business. And I'm the only one I have to answer to. And I'm my worst critic. So, I'll gladly tell myself when I need a swift kick in the ass, but I'll be damned if someone else is going to do it for me. Point is, in the real world, we leave our jobs, we don't return to them unless they're promising us a promotion, more money, and a better work schedule. Um, I'm sorry, unless your name is The Undertaker or Brock Lesnar or Goldberg, that ain't getting promised to you. And that's just the way it is. So if you didn't like the way they treated you in 2010, maybe you shouldn't have returned in 2018. Just my opinion, though. So I want to thank you guys once again for joining me here on the show. I want to thank Nate Maxon for this platform with the WrestleNet Radio and for even letting me be involved in the We Can't Wrestle podcast. I will be back next week. And again, this is a review show. Yes, I will speak about NXT and AEW. There may be a week that I talk about Dark Side of the Ring or Young Rock involved with this. There may be a week that I don't talk about NXT and AEW and I talk about Raw or SmackDown or Impact. You never know. But this is a review show. And until next week, if you smell, look at the tongue, look at the tongue, look at the tongue, what the arch is cooking next time.